to do your sprint retrospectives. So your sprint retrospectives are very, very important, right? You can't skip it because this is a place where the entire Scrum team comes together and is able to talk openly, very transparent, right, about the process, about what are they doing, if it's working, if it's not working, what they need to start doing, stop doing, keep doing. It's a very open discussion that you need to have with your team to make sure the team is one comfortable that they can self correct if there's something they're doing that they need to stop, that the whole team comes together and discuss how they did in the prior sprint. So it's very, very important and we should never skip it. Typically, you don't have managers in that session. It's supposed to be a session where everybody feels open and comfortable to be able to talk about things, and they shouldn't feel intimidated because there's a senior manager in there. But I've found in smaller companies where it's like a SaaS startup, everybody's in there, right? Everybody's talking about it because we're all working towards this one goal. However, in bigger organizations, more traditional organizations where there's so many hierarchy, there's so much, processes, it's so heavy. I found in the bigger organizations, managers are not in there because they will just bring a big, heavy cloud over everything. And then people don't want to talk because they don't want their managers to know that they think this way. So because of that, they leave the managers out because they want it to be open. But in smaller, tight knit organizations where everybody's doing everything almost, I've just found that everybody's in the retrospective and everybody seems to be willing to say whatever they would say in front or behind the manager. So there's no feeling of, I can't say this because the CIO is in there, right? So it works better if you don't have managers, but if if it depends on your culture too, right? In my organizations, there are smaller organizations, everybody's in there because I want everybody to hear what we're coming up with. And sometimes the managers have a better idea than what we're coming up with, and they can correct us right away. And sometimes the developers have a better idea than the managers, and then they can say it, and it becomes such a transparent and wonderful experience. The retrospectives I've been running have been wonderful. I really like that. And even when the team gets into, because a team starts off forming, when you form the team, then there's a storming phase where everything is confused, nobody really understands, it's like weird, and then you get to normalize, you go into the norming phase, and then you become a high performing team. So the beginning, right after you form the team, you get into this what I call the valley of despair. Actually, I didn't coin that. I heard that from someone. Whoever came up with it that's a great idea. The valley of despair, which is everything is frustrating. It's hard. It feels difficult. Nobody's getting along. Everybody's unhappy. But that has to happen for you to get into the norming stage. So even when you're in that valley of despair, having the retrospective is even more important because that's where you're going to course correct, right? So how do you do this retrospective? Well, typically you set the meeting and they know it happens at the end of the sprint. So at the end of the sprint, you set the meeting, everybody shows up and you talk. You talk about things. So the first thing you start about, normally if it's a first retrospective, you start talking about the due process and, people start giving input. Or if it's like, you've done a few sprints now, then you look back at the last retrospective and you say, what are the things that we said we were going to do? Did we do them? And the things that you had as action items, did you actually accomplish them? And you kind of go back through that and clarify what was done, what wasn't done, what decisions were made after the retrospective based on what they talked about. And then you start taking new feedback. So typically I like to ask if you have any start doing. Is there anything new that we should start doing based on our experience in the last sprint? Then I ask, is there anything that you need to stop doing, right? So there's something that we've been doing. It's not working. It's not a good idea. Let's stop it. And then what should we keep doing? If we're doing something well, it's working, let's keep doing that. Let's reinforce that, right? And then sometimes some things will drop off because you get to a phase where it becomes a norm and everybody's doing it well. So you can drop that off and then new things come on and then you add those things. And maybe if you started something this sprint, the next sprint you can put it as keep doing because it's working, or you can say stop doing because it's not working. So it's a really open conversation. Now, if you have very, very large teams or teams in different time zones, sometimes getting together and meeting can be difficult, but you have to find a time when we all can be there. But to make the time, the effort in coming up with these things go faster, I've been using this board. It's called Idea Boards, and there are many tools for retrospective, many, many tools, right? But I found this little free tool here, and you just basically add your cards. You click on this, you type in whatever you want to type in, and that becomes a card, and then it stays on this board, and then everybody can come in and vote up or vote down the different cards to show that they agree or not agree, right? So they can come in and vote on things that they want to, emphasize. So that's one tool that you can use. It's free. It's called ideaboards.com. There are so many tools. You can use your Trello. You can go back into Jira. You can use a template. So there's many tools that you can use to get this retrospective done. But the thing that you must do is you must make your retrospective transparent and open. People should be free to talk about whatever and be able to really criticize or critique the process and come up with new solutions. It's not a process where you just go in there and start complaining about everything and you're like, nothing works. As they give you feedback as to what the problems are, then you need to elicit, okay, should you stop doing something? Should you start doing something? Like, how do you solve for this? Right? Always try to look for solutions. So yeah, you should definitely keep going with the retrospective. Don't skip it. Don't let anybody tell you to cancel it. It has to happen at the end of the sprint. Whatever situation, whether you have people in different time zones, and it doesn't matter. They all have to participate. Okay. So that's what we have to do. All right. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.